most recent game that we shipped during the pandemic, which was a crazy feat to be able to ship a game, to release it, to get to finish it, to get it out during the pandemic was. Well, hello there.
Hi, Adam.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. It is 8 a.m. here in Los Angeles.
I know you woke up so early for this. You have no idea how grateful I am.
It's actually, it's probably like I wanted to do this early because I've been trying to kick myself to wake up earlier anyway,
Mm-hmm.
because so I live pretty close to the office now, and so you would think that that would motivate me to get up earlier
Mm.
so that I could do something because I wouldn't have to have a long commute. But it has actually been the exact opposite,
Oh my
where I
God.
wake up 5 minutes before I'm supposed to leave.
Oh man.
But I'm happy to be doing this. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for reaching
Of
out and
course.
for
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I think our topic is very interesting and is something that I don't know a lot about. So yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. But before we start, what are you drinking? Do you have a coffee or tea?
Oh, I've got some green tea.
Nice. I made myself dalgona coffee. It's like
Whoa,
a Korean coffee that went viral starting this quarantine. If you can give us an introduction of yourself, that'd be really great.
totally. My name's Adam. I was born in 1996 I hail from Cleveland, Ohio. Did the film scoring major at Berkeley, with the video game scoring minor. While I was at Berkeley, you know, kind of, I've always kind of gravitated towards just games and stuff in general. Even when I was a kid, games were a large part of my life.
Mm.
Either playing back in the early days of playing N64 games like Mario or Donkey Kong or whatever. And I remember just carrying my Game Boy everywhere with me when I was a kid,
Mm.
and so it was always kind of part of my life. And uh like it was kind of the way that I used to hang out with my cousins too, is we always play games and just kind of hang out.
Yeah.
And so at Berkeley, when they found out that they were offering this video game scoring minor, I was like, yo, I totally want to do that. It sounds super interesting. And I've always, I mean, obviously, I should probably also mention too, I play piano,
Mm.
and I've been playing piano since an early age. And I was always like, oh, how can I, do something with piano and something with games? Because I really, really like both. Um, and yeah, they had that game minor, which really kind of opened my eyes more to just really, really enjoying um, the whole process of how you write how you write music and how it functions in games. And
Mm.
so I kind of at that point just kind of set myself up for being oh, this is something that I want to do.
Yeah. I feel like if I didn't major or study music therapy at Berkeley, I would have gone for film scoring. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, right on.
I love film and just how the background music can really set the mood of certain scene. It's very powerful. And it's like the biggest part of a film. I don't know, but yeah, I would definitely do that. So I'm so excited to be talking about art in this film industry, especially with music making. So, yay!
Yeah, no, I'm stoked as well. I mean, I think for obviously for the whole situation that we're in right now, I
Hmm.
think I'm just super thankful to be able to still do music stuff,
Yeah.
throughout the this whole pandemic.
Hmm.
I've had a lot of friends that they've had to take either part-time or full-time jobs outside of outside of music, just having to kind of stay afloat. And I consider myself like really lucky and really fortunate, and it's like so grateful that I've been able to, still kind of do what I love,
Yeah.
which, you know,
Yeah, and that's so amazing that you're still doing what you're doing throughout this pandemic. Like what was like so when that like pandemic hit for you guys, like were you like I'm assuming you guys are like working virtually, like having team meetings and such.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so if you can dive a little more deeper on like the projects or like some of the things that you and your team um, are working on together, if you guys can share that, that'd be really great.
sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I can kind of give you like sort of a kind of like the timeline of how things have been happening, and like
Yeah.
like a few different things that have happened like along the
Mm-hmm.
way. Um, because at the I think at the very beginning of the pandemic, it was like kind of like obviously like nothing like this had happened before, so nobody knew what to do
Mm-hmm.
for the situation. Nobody, like, there was no precedent. There was no like
Instructions.
instructions. There was no book. There was no guidelines written by anybody for like what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I guess I should probably so I right now I'm my like work experience, like my current job occupation is so I'm a music editor for PlayStation for Sony, the game company.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the company had, just like every other like place, like had never experienced anything like this before, so
Yeah.
nobody knew. Like it was a little bit of a mad dash. So like at the very beginning of like, oh gosh, what is it now, like almost a year since this pandemic started. um Literally I just like I had a cart and I just put all my stuff on it, went
Wow.
home, and like spent the whole next day setting up in my living room. And um I didn't have a like a good work from home situation. So
Mm-hmm.
I've moved apartments since then, but in my old apartment where I had moved all my stuff to, um I had no room in my bedroom. So I set up everything in my living room on like this coffee table,
Mm-hmm.
and I had no chair to sit in.
Oh
So I sat
no.
on the floor. So I put a pillow on the floor, and for like several months I was sitting on the floor on a pillow, like leaning against the wall,
Oh
and just
no.
had like all my stuff like on this like coffee table in the living room. Um and that is like how my life was. I was like
Wow.
for several months was just um was like going from my bed in my bedroom to walking like 3 feet to the living room and sitting down there and getting on like Teams and everything, and just basically trying to still do like the work that I could do from home.
Mm-hmm.
um which, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm personally someone that really likes having separation from like working like home kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
um which I know is like really really hard, obviously, to pull off right now, and
Yeah.
hard just in general for freelancers, because a lot of the times we don't, and any like a lot of musicians, or anybody that's working from like a home studio or whatever, we don't, there's not really like a good boundary. And
Yeah.
I personally feel like I'm not really really good at managing that for myself, so I almost
Mm.
need like something to force my mindset to like change,
Yeah.
between kind of living, like being home and going somewhere and working. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's partly because I grew up in the Midwest, and there's like this, it's just like the Midwest mentality of kind of, you have your like morning commute, you have your like, you go to like your 9 to 5 job or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come home and it's like now that's all your time, which is like the 180 of what the whole Los Angeles vibe is, which is like,
Right.
always working, kind of, your
Mm-hmm.
work is just kind of integrated into your life. You always feel like you have to be like the on switch is like flipped, and you're always kind of, it's never really
Yeah.
like a total like settle feeling of like, I know I'm like off the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to worry about anything, work
Yeah.
related right now. It's
A
like a totally different mindset.
100%. Like when you mention about that, like having not having boundaries like of workspace at home, like oh my gosh, like I can't imagine. Like I didn't even think about that. But now that you mention it, I'm like, dang, mad respect, Adam. And for those who are struggling with this too, I remember when I was in LA for my internship, as soon as I got home, I immediately like changed my clothes like to like PJs or something very comfortable just to like set that boundary like okay, I'm at home, this is like my safe place, I'm like free to do whatever I want. But like when I'm at the hospital, I have to like dress a certain way and act certain way and all that. But wow, that just brought back memories. But
So now that I moved closer to work,
mhm.
and we have this like super limited like return that we do for like some of the audio people, because we're in like isolated like pods basically, and they've got like they now that they've sort of figured out like a lot of the like um precaution stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, sometimes we can have like like one or two people come to the studio,
Mhm.
and that has been like sort of a saving grace for me, being able to like leave my apartment and
Yeah.
sometimes like go to just like go somewhere. Like it's like like I'm like I love like going places and making like even small trips feel like a like some sort of like journey or something.
Mhm.
So like even like something as simple as like driving like 4 or 5 minutes to like the office, or like having like a small commute, and just like kind of getting up in the morning and leaving the apartment
Mm.
has been like, I can't even tell you, Grace, like how much it has like made me like feel more like just just happier, just
Mhm.
um
Yeah, wow.
because I and for, like everyone that's struggling with staying inside and everything, like and trying to be as safe as as safe as you can be. I feel the pain, and
Mm.
I was there, and I'm still there, with everyone, and it's like I don't know I quite don't know how I have managed to get this far through the entirety of the pandemic,
Mm.
because I consider myself like a pretty, like, I like not being in my room, sort of like I like being out, so not being able to do all that stuff, I've had to like figure out like how to adjust and be able to talk to people, like do all of the virtual meetings, and figuring out how to still manage talking to a lot of people, which
Mhm.
is like game development. I guess it's kind of a good segue into how it's a little bit more kind of like on the actual like, what do I do, like games, music, how does that all work, what is this stuff,
Yeah.
like it's like game development. You typically have like such a large team of like 200 or 300 people, right? And
Mhm.
the whole thing of how that works is because they're all they're on what they usually call like a bullpen
Mm.
or something, which is like, it's like a bunch of cubicles kind of all kind of cornered next to each other, um, like on like a central floor, and it allows for like really easy access for like someone like an artist to like just like walk up from their desk and go walk like 10 feet over and talk to like a designer or a combat designer or somebody to either to like hammer out like iterations on something, or figure out like the flow of, oh, this fight isn't like working well, or how many creatures are you planning on putting in this fight, and like,
Mhm.
oh, that's going to affect like the kind of music that we use and the kind of like art that we do, and all these different things. It's like such a collaborative process that it just can't happen. It's so hard for that to happen
Mhm.
organically
Right.
when you don't have people all in the same spot together.
Right.
Just by like sheer like how we interact as people, like as humans, like
Mhm.
it's kind of like the whole the whole organic part of it is much harder to do virtually,
Right.
just by nature of it.
Yeah.
And so, it's like I feel like it's turned into a lot of meetings, and it's like, what more can we do with each other right now during the pandemic other than like hop on like a Teams call or something and have like a meeting about something,
Yeah.
where it's like nothing really things are getting done, but like all of the getting done happens very like isolated and very individual, I feel like. And it's whenever we interact with other people now, it's always just kind of the like, it's like an exchange. It's just like almost feels like a little bit of a cold exchange of information. Like just like, it's just like meeting. Or now, okay, now I'm like by myself, like working for 3 hours, and like I got like a meeting again, and it's
Yeah.
like where if when you've got like the people together in the studio, and it's it feels like a little bit more than that. But I guess kind of elaborate on kind of like what I do, and I guess kind of like how I fit into like the whole thing, and just to give folks like a little bit of, I guess, context or a little insight into like music and games and how that all works. So like obviously you're familiar with film scoring and films because you mentioned it. When you're scoring like linear media, right, and you've got like a picture or whatever, and you just like, it's like you give that to a composer and you're like, score that scene, right, and you write the music for that. Well, it's like that's not really like how it can happen for games, because the game is constantly changing, and there's no like, hey, score the game, like here's the game, like score it from like start to finish, because games are typically like 40 or 50 hours long, and like who in their right mind can write 40 hours of music?
Right.
Like that's crazy. I mean, I'm sure someone would do it, but that's like that. I mean, it's so you have to kind of approach it from a different like mindset of like, okay, we're gonna score like some scenes, like, oh, if there's like little movie moments or something, like those are pretty easy to score those linear, but like kind of where the sort of the cool middle ground is, that where I get to do stuff, is we have like a composer that writes like some music, and it's like my job to figure out what kind of music they should be writing based on the kind of game that we're working on.
Right.
Which can be totally like stylized. For example, like the most recent game that we shipped during the pandemic, which was a crazy feat to be able to ship a game, to release it, to get like to finish it, to get it out during the pandemic, was Ghost of Tsushima, which is this Japanese stylized kind of feudal Japan game about this like this samurai that kind of goes on this like journey from becoming samurai to ninja. It's kind of like the birth of like ninjas and everything, and
Wow.
it's this fun game, and that like the last back half of that game was all done work from home during the pandemic.
Wow.
And that game is like huge. It's like you could spend like 100 hours playing that game.
Wow.
And we only had like a few hours of music written, so it was up to the music editors to like, our job was to figure out how are we going to cover the entire game with the music that we have. And it was a lot of like just almost like cool like working a lot in Pro Tools, and doing like a lot of like re-edits of things and remixing things, and putting the music in the game, which is like a whole other like side of the whole process of like designing interactivity, which is kind of big. I mean, that's where games are so different from films, because a player can do like player A may, go to the building, like they might run there,
Mm-hmm.
and they might like get like different music, as opposed to like player B that might take their time and walk at like 1 mile an hour and like sneak around. Like, so it's like you have to account for all the different situations that a player could take, and
That's true.
all these different routes that they could take,
Mm-hmm.
and it just turns into like a lot of like, it's just like a lot of work, and you're sitting there, and I remember nights of me like just sitting there like late at night. I'm just like, I want to be done. I want to stop working. And it's just it's sometimes there's these like periods of like and this is kind of the like why I think it was like the most difficult project for me personally, um because I really feel like I really enjoy like the team energy and like the vibe of like being on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and like, that sense of camaraderie that you get
Yeah.
when you're like in with like a group of people, and it's like, oh, if we're all struggling with this together, there's like
Yeah.
a little bit more of a sense of like we can do it, we can push till the end, because we're kind of, it's like the whole like we're all in this together vibe, and we're kind of all lifting each other and pushing each other forward to
Yes.
get this done, and like, and that was like super hard, trying to figure out like, how am I going to do that for myself, because I'm sitting in my living room working from home. I don't have, we're all like trying to motivate each other virtually,
Mm.
which is like the most that we can do.
Yeah.
But it, in those periods of like I'm sitting there like 1 a.m. and my eyes are glazed over, and it's just like, oh, I have to just like keep, you're just like, oh, I'm just like, you're kind of flying solo, you're kind of flying like a bit in the blind, because you just don't have the support there. So it was like that, doing that was, I mean, eye-opening experience, and uh I hope that things start to get better, so that we don't have to,
Yeah.
you know so that it doesn't, I would hate to to have to go through that again. So I'm like, oh, please, everybody,
I
get better.
know. Yeah. It's such a crazy and weird time. Like, uh, I don't know. Yeah, like I'm still unemployed and just trying to figure it out. Um, but yeah, it's so encouraging to hear that like you're still working and your teammates are doing the best that you can to support one another. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just yeah, mad
video like
respect.
I mean, it's video games, just like, yeah, like I said before, like they don't it's impossible for a game to happen
Hmm.
with just like a few people,
Yeah.
like large games, like the stuff that I get to work on. It takes an entire ship and an entire crew to make something like it happen,
Hmm.
and it's very much just so it's very much a collaborative team effort, um, and I wouldn't be able to, I think, be where I am right now and make it through if it wasn't for my teammates and for my coworkers, and the people that I work with that help support me, and I think there's like a really good sense of camaraderie and
Hmm.
support in the game industry, from what I've experienced, that um, that I think is kind of unparalleled with like other entertainment industries or fields. Like, there were small periods of time where I worked in film, or like interning at different like film places or whatever,
Hmm.
and I I just the level of kind of commitment and care and passion that I've seen from folks that work in games has been like incredible. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's inspiring. Like, it's um being able to see like how, like, just how other people have like also handled like this whole situation too. I
Hmm.
feel like we kind of feed off of each other's energy, and we just kind of we inspire each other to kind of keep do what we can and keep pushing forward.
Hmm.
um I think I like you know I had friends that had to leave LA because couldn't they weren't able to keep, sustaining themselves, here, either
Mm.
from like losing work, or either like just different situations, either
Mm-hmm.
COVID related or not, like, um so I I just hope that everyone knows that, like, everyone, we're thinking about you, and
Yes.
it's, and I hope that, um you know there's like, something that can help motivate you, and um it's, I think just the a bit, like, the getting through the day, which, like,
Mm.
like, I used to not really appreciate the, like, just like the little, like, a lot of the, like, little, I guess, successes that
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of make for yourself during the day,
Mm.
like, um just getting up, or like making your bed, or making yourself breakfast or something, which is like,
Yeah.
I never think of those things as like, like, mini mini achievements of the day,
Mm-hmm.
but I like, like, I've been trying to, like, just find like little things that I can do for myself that make me feel like I have, at least in some way, improved myself,
Yeah.
whether that be just like getting up a little bit earlier, like I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
so
trying to get
proud
up
of you.
oh my gosh, thank you, because literally waking up today at like 7:30 or whatever it was I did, like, that was, this is like gonna make my week, like, waking up this early, like, this achievement, I feel like, and for me personally, I feel like I when I can do something little like that, and I can kind of build off of those little things,
Yeah,
so it's like, oh, if I
definitely.
wake up a little earlier, okay, maybe now I can try, like, going for a morning run, which I always want to do, and I never do because I'm too dang lazy, like, and so I'm like, okay, there's like some things that I can try to, I'm saying all of this, and I don't even know if I'm gonna do half of it, but like, just the little things, like, I can't go to a gym right now, which is,
Mm.
you know that is what it is, but I can at least try to, like, go for a morning run or something, which, like,
Yeah.
you know
Starting off little by little, it does
yeah,
count. So.
it I think every single little thing you do counts, and
Mm-hmm.
throughout, like, the whole pandemic, I think that's what I've really sort of started to learn, and appreciate, is that, like, little things, yeah, little things that you do can matter, and I didn't think they were gonna affect me as kind of as positively as they have, um but, you know
Yeah.
what do I know? I'm just
You're just doing the best that you can.
the work side of stuff, it's like great and all, but, I think, taking care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is like super super important, which I've been guilty for a long time of not doing, and I'm trying to, like, pick up the slack now, like, so whether it's like, you know you're, flying solo through the pandemic like I am, or if you're eating too much McDonald's, like I've also been eating way too much McDonald's.
All those fast food.
Oh my gosh. I haven't eaten McDonald's for 10 years, and my friend was just like, "You got to try the you got to try this McDonald's deal." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've sunk into the lowest of lows of going to McDonald's now. How can I
Oh
do this to
my.
myself?"
Well,
Yeah,
thank you
you
so
know,
much for being so honest, vulnerable, and just showing the raw side of you. Yeah, I really appreciate
totally.
that. Yeah, I feel like I have a better glimpse of like what your industry or like the video game film scoring looks like in this pandemic. And you gave like really good advices as well. And I feel like this could also benefit for people who are interested in the field that you're in, or even if you're not, just like an encouragement that like you guys aren't alone. We're all like just trying to figure it out, and yeah, treat yourself, whether if it's McDonald's or whatever. So
Sometimes you gotta treat yourself to a McDonald's.
yeah, yeah, it was
They
definitely.
don't call it Happy Meal for nothing.
That's so true. But yeah, thank you so much once again, Adam. And yeah, we'll definitely talk again in the future. But in the meantime, we wish you well.
Well, thank you, and I wish the same for you, Grace, and for everyone else listening. I mean, you know, just keep going, keep moving forward.
Yeah,
Do what you can.
for sure. All right, Adam. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day,
Yeah,
and we'll
same to
see you
you.
again later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.